Let's talk about contribution rates. We had noted that the teacher's contribution rate is 8%, the employer is 8.25%, and the state is currently at 2.017%. Those rates are set by the legislature, and they've been stable for over 20 years. They have not changed despite many inaccurate reports that you hear in the media. And again, I do want to note that the state did reduce what they paid to the CalSTRS fund over 10 years ago and have been able to save over $3 billion. And that continues to be an issue that's happened, and we do look forward to conversations about talking about what can be done to ensure California is going to make sure that they meet their obligations to the CalSTRS system, and what do we need to do to have those conversations. They're going to be difficult in light of the economic situation, but like I said earlier, we've been down difficult roads in the past, and this is a difficult one, and we'll make it through this. One of the things that we do realize with contribution rates is that it's not something that has to be done overnight as far as ratcheting them up to cover the entire shortfall in 1 year. Again, it's over a 30-year period of time. Think of it like making sure that we're going to have moderate, predictable contribution increases at some point in time. We'll have to have an approach that's going to work, and it's something that's going to have to be done in a way that's not going to exacerbate cuts to education that we've seen over the last few years. We also have to note that ultimately, according to the Constitution, the state is the ultimate guarantor to the CalSTRS system. Because the rates are set by the legislature and not the CalSTRS board, and because of the way the CalSTRS system is structured, the state is the ultimate person or entity, who is actually responsible for any long-term shortfall that CalSTRS has. And it's very difficult because we're in an environment where issues are becoming increasingly complex, and we have a lot of number of competing issues that we have to deal with in Sacramento. And it's also very difficult for policymakers to get up to speed on issues, because issues such as retirement are often so technical and complex that it's hard for them to understand the complexity of these issues enough in a very quick manner in order to try to address some of these issues. But a solution is going to have to be put together in a way that's pragmatic, that's not going to hinder or exacerbate the economic situation that we've dealt with, but will address the issue in a slow, effective manner that's going to work for everyone involved. One of the aspects that's going to make this conversation difficult is the issue of Proposition 98. And as you all know, it's very difficult in these times to ensure that we're even funding Prop 98 at a minimum level of funding. When we start to talk about increased contribution rates, one of the dilemmas that we have is who's going to pay, when are they going to pay, and how is it going to be paid? Well, first of all, if the state has had a reduced amount in their contributions for over 10 years, there certainly needs to be a discussion about saying, what can we do to have you eliminate your own pension holiday and bring you back to the level of payment that you were before. But how do you do that in a pragmatic way when we're in a very tough fiscal situation where we're having a difficult time even passing a state budget? It's not an easy conversation, but it's going to be a conversation that we're going to have in as effective a manner as possible. There have been different perceptions and different legal opinions of Prop 98 and how this will or won't be impacted by perhaps additional contribution rates in the future. We've had 2 legal analyses done, one done by the Attorney General in 2006 that has noted that at that time that they had believed that if you were to see increased contribution rates for employers, that would have to come out of Prop 98 funds. But we also saw a 2006 opinion from the Legislative Council and the legislature that had noted that they believed that if there were to be additional contribution rates by employers, that should come outside of Prop 98. And there's obviously different discussions and various opinions on that issue that are being discussed in Sacramento right now, but because of the complexity of both Prop 98 and the fiscal situation that we're dealing with, you can obviously understand why some of these conversations are very difficult to move on. We do have a difficult future that we're going to have to approach, but the reality is we're aware of it. We're having the discussions we need to do to try to solve this in an effective manner. We do want to correct the many inaccuracies that are presented out there, and there are quite a few. Just like you work to educate children so they understand facts and figures, so are we in Sacramento trying to do our job of educating the many individuals on the facts and figures as it relates to teachers' retirement. The reality is we are part of the solution, not the problem. And it's in everyone's best interest to make sure we can find a long-term, prudent way out of the situation. And it's also important to note that CalSTRS has been doing this since 1913. They survived the Great Depression. They've survived a world war. They survived the 80s, and they're going to survive this. It's a long-term issue that we're dealing with. It's important that we don't let short-term agendas try to hinder the long-term security of both CalSTRS and your retirement. So with that, I wanted to give you additional resources that you can use to better educate yourself and others. I have a multitude of websites that you can go to. The first one is the CTA website. We have a brand new retirement link. CalSTRS also has quite a bit of information that can be helpful to you to understand your own retirement benefit. They have calculators that can help you calculate anticipated retirement benefits for you. In addition, they also have a good website called CalSTRS Benefits Us that can give you information about correcting incorrect reportings that have been done when it comes to retirement and many inaccuracies that have been out there. CalPERS has some excellent information. So for our ESP and for our CSU staff that we have, take a look at the CalPERS website. They have information that can explain to you the CalPERS benefit structures as well as a multitude of the demographics that you have within the systems. You can also go to the National Education Association website, particularly if you're interested in finding out more about Social Security, or shall I say the lack of Social Security, and the federal offsets. And they also have a wonderful page that you can use to point and click a letter to your member of Congress, so you can urge them to fix the Social Security inaccuracies that we have for California's teachers. And in addition, some of the good, helpful resources that I use for some of the statistics in this presentation can be found from the National Institute on Retirement Security. We do have all of these links on our CTA website, so if you wanted to just go to our CTA website and use that to point and click your way to finding all the information you need to go on retirement. I did want to end with a quotation today, and I thought it was a very fitting quotation by Will Rogers that said, "Let Wall Street have a nightmare, and the whole country has to get them back in bed again." And it seems to be appropriate for the situation that we're in today.